It was a few years back, during one of those unnaturally thick, foggy afternoons that felt more like midnight than midday. I was staying at my girlfriend's dad's place out in the countryside, a big old house backed by acres of dense woods and a murky lake. The air always carried that earthy scent of damp leaves and pine, but on this day, it was heavier, almost suffocating. I'd gotten into the habit of taking long walks through a narrow clearing in the trees to clear my head. It was my escape, just me, the crunch of twigs under my boots, and the occasional rustle of wildlife. My girlfriend hated those woods, said they gave her the creeps, so I always went alone. That day, the fog had rolled in like a living thing, swallowing everything beyond 15 feet. I could barely make out the trunks of the nearest trees, their bark slick with moisture, and the ground was soft, mushy from recent rains. I pulled on my hiking boots, laced them tight against the chill, and told her I'd be back in an hour. She waved me off from the kitchen window, steam rising from her coffee mug like ghosts in the air. As I stepped into the clearing, the world shrank. The fog muffled sounds, turning the usual bird calls into distant, hollow echoes. My footsteps crunched loudly on the fallen leaves, crisp at first, then softer as the dampness soaked in. I hadn't gone far when I noticed something off. My steps, they weren't alone. It was subtle at first, like an echo of my own rhythm, but then I realized it was slightly out of sync. Step, crunch, step, crunch, crunch. I froze, heart picking up a beat, and listened. Silence, except for the faint drip of water from branches overhead. "Hello?" I called out, my voice swallowed by the mist. No answer. Shrugging it off as paranoia, maybe an animal mirroring my path, I kept going. But the fog thickened, wrapping around me like cold fingers, and the air grew heavier with the smell of wet earth and something metallic, like old blood. Then came the moan, low, guttural, like an elderly man in pain, struggling for breath. It cut through the quiet, sending a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with the chill. "Hello? You okay out there?" I shouted, peering into the white void. The moan came again, closer this time, pulling me toward it. I moved cautiously, my boots sinking slightly into the mud, each step deliberate. The trees loomed like silent sentinels, their branches clawing at the sky. And there, just at the edge of visibility, I saw it. A tall, shadowy figure standing motionless in the fog. My pulse quickened. It was human-shaped, but details were lost in the haze. Too tall, maybe? Or was that the distortion? "Hey, do you need help?" I edged closer, the moan stopping abruptly. But as I advanced, the figure didn't get clearer. It stayed the same distance away, like it was retreating just enough to match my pace. I stopped, confused, and took a few more steps. Same thing. A whisper then, faint and indistinct, like wind through leaves, but with words I couldn't quite catch. "What the?" I muttered, my breath visible in the cold air. Panic started to bubble up. I turned and walked back toward the house, glancing over my shoulder. The figure was still there, hovering at that exact distance. I picked up speed, my heart hammering against my ribs, the crunch of leaves now frantic. Another glance, the same. I broke into a run, branches whipping at my face, fog swirling in my wake. Every time I looked back, it was there, unrelenting. And that's when I noticed. Its lower half faded into the mist, no legs visible, just floating like a specter. Whispers followed me now, urgent and overlapping, words like "come back" or "join us," but twisted, inhuman. I burst out of the woods into the yard, lungs burning, and slammed into the back door. My girlfriend and her family rushed in, faces pale. "Something followed me," I gasped, pointing at the tree line. But when her dad stepped out with me, flashlight in hand, the fog had lifted just enough. Nothing. No figure. He clapped my shoulder, chuckling it off as nerves. But I know what I saw. That night, as rain pelted the windows, I lay awake, listening for whispers in the storm. And sometimes on foggy nights, I still hear them calling from the woods. That chill you feel, that's just the beginning. Our next tale takes us into the heart of the city, where fog turns familiar streets into traps for the unwary. Stay with me. Things are about to get darker.
Moving out on your own is supposed to be exciting, right? But for me, it started with a hunt for cheap furniture that nearly ended everything. I was transitioning from my parents' cozy home in Staten Island to a tiny apartment in Manhattan. Bare walls, echoing rooms, the whole deal. I'd scour apps like Craigslist and let go for deals, scrolling late into the night under my blanket, the glow of my phone the only light. One evening, amid the patter of rain against the window, I spotted a dresser. Solid wood, vintage style, dirt cheap. It matched what I already had, so I messaged the seller, Jake. He replied almost instantly, "Sure, man, available tonight?" We chatted back and forth, his responses quick and casual. He worked late shifts, so meetings were after 10 p.m. No big deal, I had the week off. We set it for 10:30 on a dead-end street by a small park. As I drove there, the fog descended like a curtain, thick and impenetrable, headlights bouncing back at me. The rain had eased to a drizzle, but the air was heavy, smelling of wet asphalt and distant ocean salt. I arrived early, around 10:15, parking under a flickering street lamp that cast long, wavering shadows. Seconds later, my phone buzzed. "You're early. Give me a sec, I'll be right out." My stomach twisted. How did he know? Was he watching? The street was eerily quiet. No other cars, just shrouded buildings that looked abandoned. I texted back, "Okay," and scanned the fog. Nothing. Then another message. "Come on out. Dresser's waiting out back." Out back? I couldn't see 5 feet ahead. "Where exactly?" I replied, stepping out of my truck. The cold mist clung to my skin, seeping through my jacket. No response on the app. Instead, a voice yelled from the haze, "Over here!" I hesitated, heart thumping, but followed the call, my sneakers squelching on the wet pavement. The voice guided me. "This way, man," leading into a narrow alley between two dark structures. The walls were graffiti covered, slick with moisture, and the air grew mustier, like mold and decay. Whispers seemed to echo off the bricks, or was that the wind? I shouted, "I'm coming," trying to sound confident, but my voice cracked. The alley opened into a backyard, or what felt like one. Fog obscured everything. It could have been a field or a closet for all I knew. Silence fell, broken only by faint traffic hums. "Jake?" No answer. Then, "Wait, your dresser's just right inside here. Come inside." The voice came from a shadowy doorway, inviting yet laced with something sinister. My instincts screamed no. I backed away, feet slipping on wet grass. As I turned, shapes materialized in the mist, people standing rigid against a fence, faces pale and expressionless, eyes glinting in the low light. Terror surged. I sprinted back through the alley, hearing footsteps pounding behind me, at least 3 sets, heavy and determined. Whispers chased me, "Get him or don't let him go." I didn't head for my truck, no time. I ran down the road, fog swallowing my path, lungs aching until I collapsed behind a dumpster, dialing 911 with shaking hands. Police arrived, lights cutting through the mist like knives. We returned to the spot, empty yard, abandoned storefronts with an open back door. Inside, nothing. No dresser, no Jake. I showed them the chat logs. They took notes, promised to investigate, but nothing came of it. That night, as rain hammered the roof, I bolted every door, listening for whispers outside. What if I had stepped inside? I shuddered to think. The fog hides predators, and sometimes they're waiting just for you. If that didn't make you lock your doors, this final story will have you checking your windows twice. We're delving deeper into the fog, where the line between intruder and apparition blurs. Hold on tight.
Quarantine had us all cooped up, but for my family in Jersey, it meant long days in our sprawling house with its massive backyard. Last Saturday, the fog was insane, thicker than I'd ever seen, turning the world into a gray soup. My wife was out grabbing groceries, navigating the misty roads with caution, while my son holed up in his room with video games. I was in my office, typing away, the keyboard clicks mixing with the steady rain outside. That's when my 6-year-old daughter, Veronica, tugged at my sleeve. "Daddy, there's someone in the garden." I glanced out the window, expecting a neighbor's dog or a bird, but there she was, a figure standing stock still in the backyard, back to us, shrouded in fog. The air smelled of wet soil and ozone, like a storm brewing. I couldn't make out details. Man or woman? Tall, disheveled, maybe? My skin prickled. I rapped on the glass sharply, tap, tap, tap. The figure turned its head slowly, then shuffled deeper into the mist, vanishing over the garden bed. "Stay here, sweetie," I said, slipping on my loafers. The wooden floor creaked underfoot as I headed out, the back door groaning open to the chill. Fog enveloped me immediately, cold and clammy against my face. I followed the path, gravel crunching, calling out, "Hey, this is private property!" No response. Then a rhythmic thump, thump, thump echoed ahead, familiar, like a door slamming. It came from the shed at the yard's edge, an old wooden structure filled with tools and forgotten junk. As the shed loomed through the haze, I saw her, a middle-aged woman, wild hair matted with damp, slamming the door open and shut repeatedly. Her clothes were ragged, soaked through, and her movements jerky, unnatural. "Get out of here before I call the cops!" I bellowed, stepping closer. She froze, turned, and mumbled sorry over and over, eyes wide and vacant. Then she bolted toward the road, fog swallowing her whole. I shook it off, locked the shed, and returned inside, not mentioning it to avoid scaring the family. But that night, as we settled in, rain lashing the windows, the slamming started again. Thump, thump. From the backyard. My wife clutched my arm, whispering, "Go check." I grabbed a flashlight, its beam cutting weak paths through the dark, and flipped on the outdoor lights. Yelling threats into the night, I advanced. The slamming stopped. Fog still thick, I reached the shed, door ajar, but no one outside. Heart pounding, I charged in, screaming to intimidate. Empty. Tools in place, air musty with wood and oil. I locked it tight, threats echoing in my mind, and headed back. But Veronica's cry stopped me cold. "Daddy!" I rushed to her room, light off to avoid glare. Through the window there she was, the woman, fingers prying at the sash, face pressed close. Her skin sagged like melted wax, eyes sunk in pits, mouth twisted in a grimace revealing rotted teeth. Whispers seeped through the glass. "Let me in, please." I roared, grabbing my phone. "Get away!" She fled into the fog. Police came, took statements, but found no trace. It's been days, and last night the shed door was open again. No forced entry. As rain drums on, I lie awake listening for her whispers in the midnight fog. What if next time she's inside? There you have it, folks. 3 true tales from the depths of the fog, where whispers carry the weight of nightmares. If these stories sent shivers down your spine, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share your own experiences in the comments. Remember, on rainy nights like this, stay safe, stay inside. Until next time, sweet dreams or not.